Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And today we have a special guest, the one and only Professor Cohen.
Hey, Bello.
I think time is short, so if you want to just dive right in, what led you to become a professor? Like, was there a particular moment that you kind of became interested in it? And also, is there like a general career path into academia, or yeah, if you could explain a little bit about that.
Yeah, I joke that I sometimes became a professor by default and that I tried a bunch of other stuff. None of it stuck. So I went back to academia. It was always like one of 4 or 5 things I wanted to do in life. And what I recommend to people is they try out different things to figure out what is the right fit for them. And, because only if you try it will you know. So I thought initially I wanted to do international criminal law. I spent my first year summer as a law student at the Rwanda Tribunal doing genocide and war crimes work. It was great. It was very meaningful, but for me, it was a bit heavy, to be perfectly honest. I then spent some time in private law for a summer. I liked it. It was nice, but I didn't feel passionate about it. I spent a couple of years at the Justice Department. I love that being an appellate lawyer. That was probably the life that was the closest to mine. But the center that I now direct, the Petrie Flom Center, was created while I was away at the Justice Department. And people said to me, this is exactly the kind of work you want to do. You should think about coming back and joining the center as a postdoc, as a fellow. And so I did. So it was recommended to me. And then I went on the job market. So the law professor job market is highly well regulated, I would say. Essentially, something like anywhere between 300 to 800, depending on the year, people submit a one-page information sheet about themselves. They propose what they'd like to teach. They include a CV, and then typically they include some publications, including what's called a job talk, which is the kind of thing that they will present to the entire faculty if they're selected. And then they do a first round interview, typically in Washington, D.C. Over the last couple of years, it's been by Zoom. And then if people like them after the first round interview, they're brought back for a day-long visit where they also do what's called a job talk, which means presenting in front of the entire faculty, answering questions for like an hour or so. And then people continue to like them. They're asked to, consider accepting an offer from the school, and that's kind of the process.
Oh wow, awesome. And so is it individualized with each school, or is it like a kind of like a college board situation where you like apply to multiple or?
So you apply in the first round to everybody through this process called the meat market and what's called the FAR form, the faculty, I think it's faculty recruitment form. I can't remember what the A stands for, but essentially you basically submit this one-page form. All the schools get this book of all the forms. Then they decide who to do the first round interviews with at this hotel room in DC. It's a lot like on-campus interviewing for students, but with faculty members. So you're typically in a room with 2 or 3 other faculty members. Sometimes it's more than that, and they'll ask you questions in these 20-minute interviews, 25-minute interviews. And then depending on how, now I've been on the other side of it because I chaired our entry-level faculty group a couple of years ago. So I got to be on the other side of it for a number of years too. So it's kind of fun to see what it's like from the other side. But the funniest thing is that law professors run up and down the staircases because there's so many of them interviewing that you can't take the elevators. So you basically have like women in high heels switching to flats, running down the stairs, putting them back on, everybody's sweating and stuff like that to try to get to their next interview. So it's very stressful in that respect.
Oh wow. And kind of on the conversation of class, and also going back to your impressive background, you have like over 200 articles written and awards and everything. Do you have any advice for students that are looking to publish their writing, or maybe an example from maybe the first time that you try to get published?
Yeah. So the first 3 things I wrote while a student here. I wrote a note on commodification. I wrote another note actually with someone else on, I guess 4 things I wrote when I was here on metaphors for the internet and how it influenced cases. I wrote a paper about the changes to the Food, Drug, and Cosmetics Act relating to pharmaceuticals for children and how to incentivizing it. And then I wrote a paper on using end-of-life mediation and negotiation for end-of-life decision-making. And all of these were things I wrote for classes I took at HLS. So one of my big recommendations is take classes that allow you to do some writing wherever you are, and also think about if you have the option of adding independent supervision, independent writing credits with a faculty member. It's a great way if you want to publish to start the work here. Some of it I published after I graduated, but I wrote at least the first drafts while I was here. So don't treat the writing part as separate from your legal education. Treat it as part of your legal education. And then I also tell people, like one of the things I like about the area I work in is I often work at the cutting edge of new technologies. So there's always something interesting and something new. If you're thinking about a writing project, choose something that's new and engaging to you, rather than something, at least the first time you're writing it, where you're going to have to read 200 years of scholarship. Like people who write about the Constitution, I'm like, God bless you, right? But to read everything about the Establishment Clause and to have a new idea and a new take seems like a lot of pressure. One of the stuff of what I love about the work I do is that nobody has really written about how, international law should handle gene editing, for example, or questions about artificial intelligence and discrimination, right? Maybe there's a little bit about it, but because the problems are so new, there are analogies, but it's not as though I'm writing against a backdrop to, hundreds of years. They used to say all of philosophy is footnotes to Plato, right? And so what I like is that I'm not writing someone else's footnotes, I'm writing the main text.
Well, thank you so much for your time. I know you have a lot of stuff around campus to do, and yeah, I really appreciate this.
My pleasure, Villa. Great to see you.